What do Falcons do? We rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general, the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, the Golden Hard Doc and a lifelong sports fan, coming back to you real quick, guys. Not a lot for me to update you on. The biggest news from last week was the Kirk Cousins signing, and man, free agency did start with a bang for a lot of teams. I've been out of town for the last week, so I really hadn't had a chance to make a video on anything that's happened since. I had thought that we would keep Desmond Ridder as a backup quarterback because he was cheaper and had a better arm than Taylor Heineke. We obviously chose to move on from him. So we've had some moves here, and I just was going to briefly touch on my thoughts from the free agent moves so far, basically 1 week into free agency. So right out the gate, Kirk Cousins, great signing. So basically this deal turns into 2 years of him guaranteed with a third-year option where the team would take a cap hit if we did cut him. But he's probably, we're only going to take a hit of about $25 million if we cut him at year 3, which again, the cap is expected to go up. At that point, it's probably going to be about $270-odd million if we had to guess, just based on current trajectories. So we'll see where the salary cap actually ends up going to. There's been periods where it stabilizes a little bit more, but it is on a rapid incline right now due to TV deals, due to money kind of coming in, the NFL being as profitable as it's ever been. So Kirk Cousins' deal, even though it's a lot of money, this is kind of the going rate that you're going to have to pay for a halfway decent quarterback. The market has not adjusted in any way to kind of go back down. All we've seen is quarterback salaries going up, and you're going to have to pay over $40 million a year to get a solid veteran. The Falcons have not had a succession plan. We'll see if they end up doing that in the draft. Obviously, the Desmond Ridder era has come to an end for the Falcons, and that's one of the big things I wanted to touch on today. Desmond Ridder, I don't know that he got the fairest shot in Atlanta. I'm fine with what we got for him. Rondale Moore is kind of a reclamation project. We'll see if we can do something with him, but it does help round out our receiver room. In addition, we re-signed Carter Hodge, and we also got Ray McCloud coming in from the San Francisco 49ers, so he's going to be a special teamer almost exclusively. So we do have about 5 wide receivers, including Darnell Mooney, who we also signed shortly after Kirk Cousins. I believe I touched on him in the Cousins video. And I think all of these guys, save Ray and Carter, have the chance to be pretty decent receivers for the team. But it rounds us out to where we also have Charlie Warner as another San Francisco transplant, former Georgia Bulldog, Georgia great, coming in to be a solid blocking tight end. We're going to be paying him somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 million a year. So not going to be looking for Pitts to do blocking, which we never should have to begin with. Thank you, Arthur Smith, for not recognizing what he was good at. But again, this is overall not a bad move. I think that Rondale Moore, who was having a good year until he got hurt this previous year, I think he is a reclamation project. I think he is going to be the wide receiver 3 on the team, and he rounds out well as a slot receiver to pair with Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London to give us a solid receiving room. Are we the best receiving room? Absolutely not. Are we a top 10 receiving room? I think you could make an argument that the Falcons are top 10 in receiving room with the guys that we have, and I still look for us to take a guy on day 2, possibly day 3 in the draft. Now, speaking of the draft, obviously Taylor Heineke is not the answer to our future quarterback woes, and Kirk Cousins is a competent, potentially window-opening stopgap quarterback for at least the next 2 years and possibly 3 to 4 years. So this is Kirk's team as long as he is healthy and as long as he is playing well until he turns 40. But we do need to have a succession plan. And this is not a bad year to be looking at a succession plan in somebody like Spencer Rattler or Joe Milton, somebody that will take time to develop, but who has some of the weapons to potentially be very good at an NFL level. So I do think that these are guys that we could look at on day 2, maybe with that second, third round pick. Not the second round pick, I should say. That's the 79th overall pick is kind of what I'm looking at here. If they're still available, maybe take a swing on them at 74. Just if you're worried they're not going to be there 5 picks later, go ahead and take your guy and then take the next best available player, whether it be a wide receiver, whether it be a corner or a safety. But I was shocked by the Desmond Ridder trade. Desmond Ridder, I don't think got a fair shot. And I want to really quickly elaborate on what I feel about that from a fan perspective. This is a man who came onto this team at a time when Matt Ryan had already left. He basically accounted for one of the trade picks for Matt Ryan, more or less. And he ended up not being a suitable successor. He's probably one of Terry Fontenot's. He is a failure from the third round of that draft class. He was with us for 2 years. He had to sit and learn behind Marcus Mariota. I mean, you tell me, is that a worthy quarterback at the NFL level to learn from? A guy who already was not really wanting to teach you because he was looking to reclaim his own honor in the NFL. And a guy who could not complete a pass beyond 20 yards with any sense of accuracy. I mean, you tell me if that's a solid mentor to learn from. Then you get thrown to the Wolves. The best time to see if what we had in Ritter was probably about week 11, week 10, week 11 of the 2022 season. Basically, I can't remember what week it was, but it was after the Carolina Thursday night game where we had extra time. We had two more home games that were winnable at that point in time. I remember it being, I think it was the Steelers, and I think it was the Commies as well. No, we went to the Commies. I don't remember. We had two home games, though, that were winnable. Not saying we would have won, and I don't remember if we did or didn't, but they were winnable games and would have been a home environment to throw Ritter in. And what do? You have a late bye week, so you kind of say, hey, this whole Marcus Mariota thing's not really working out, so we're going to wait until week 15, 14. No, it was 15. We had 15, 16, 17, 18. We're going to wait until week 15 in New Orleans, our bitter rival, who we hate and they hate us. We're going to throw him into the most hostile environment that we ever go to and see what happens with him. Now, to be fair, Ritter didn't really have any turnovers that we saw a lot in 2023. Didn't have that in 2022. He was playing very safe with the ball. We didn't ask him to do too much. And I thought that if that's what we did with Ritter, we had a chance to be a pretty decent team in 2023. And then we asked him to do a lot more than that because we threw it 40 times a game when we have one of the better running back duos in the league and one of the better run blocking lines in the league. Again, pointing to Arthur Smith's failure. You had Arthur Smith as your head coach, a first-time head coach who really has shown that he doesn't know what the heck he is doing to develop a quarterback. He didn't have a quarterback's coach. He didn't have anybody to develop Ritter that had any sense of urgency or any sense of what to do with a more raw prospect. And we haven't had that for about 3 years under the Arthur Smith tenure. So we finally do have something like that with Zach Robinson, and I thought for sure we would get some turnaround of Desmond Ritter. I'm glad we functionally got a second-round pick for Desmond Ritter because basically Rondale Moore was a former second-round pick, so we got him for it. And it did round out a need for us. I don't think Taylor Heineke is a better quarterback than Desmond Ritter, just based purely on arm talent. They have a lot of the same problems, at least under the Arthur Smith scheme. They have a lot of the same problems. But I did like Desmond. I didn't want him on the team. I didn't want us to draft him. I wanted Nakobe Dean, who has not been the greatest linebacker for Philadelphia, but is a locker room guy and is a solid depth piece. And I would have rather had Nakobe Dean than Desmond Ritter. We didn't end up going that route. But again, I will say this, and I think a lot of fans lose sight of this for whatever reason, whether there be some tensions emotionally about how the team's going, whether there be a culture thing that people feel about the team. Once a player is on our team, as long as there's no sordid past that I just can't get over, I'm going to support that guy. I'm going to want him to succeed. I'm going to want him to do well because I want our team to do well. And if these guys come in and are great, then that means that we're doing well. And it means we're getting a winning culture back. Guys, I'm going into my 7th season as a season ticket holder, and I have yet to see a winning season. Because I didn't go to every single game because of where I've lived or COVID or anything that's happened, I have not seen a winning season for the Falcons. And I didn't see a winning home game until about 2 years ago. It's been a miserable process being a Falcons fan, and I have stuck with it and continue to be a faithful fan here, knowing that we can get back to something glorious if we just do it right. And I do think that taking a quarterback in the 3rd round of this year's draft and developing him over 2 years behind Kirk Cousins is a solid route to go with Zach Robinson, who obviously can turn guys who are down on their luck at the quarterback position into spot superstar starters at minimum. I mean, look at Carson Wentz. Look at Baker Mayfield. He got his mojo back more or less after playing with Zach Robinson and having that amazing Christmas time game with the Rams. I don't know what else to say. I think Ritter kind of got a raw deal. Taylor Heineke was the other guy that he had to learn from and learn behind in some ways. And again, you saw that they had more or less the same problems, and Taylor Heineke has less zip on the ball. It's surprising to me that we kept Heineke because he is going to end up costing us, I think, $7 or $8 million if we keep him all the way through. I believe the June 1st or June 15th, whatever date it is in June, he's going to end up costing us more money. He already cost us $1 million more than if we had cut him for a roster bonus. And we'll see. It may be one of these things where the Falcons see what they can get in the draft, and if we don't get anybody, well, we've got somebody who may be at least a competent spot starter, and in case of emergency. But let's be really honest. If Kirk Cousins doesn't work out, this team doesn't work out. This team is going to go live and die at the quarterback position with Kirk Cousins, and if that does not work out, then this team is in trouble. I do think that this is a move that will work out for the Falcons. I think it opens a window, and it gives me hope. It gives me hope that for the first time in 7 years being a season ticket holder, I am going to see a winning season. I'm going to be able to go to a lot of games thinking, this could go either way, not, we're probably going to lose this. So that's all I got for you. I'm excited for the future. We'll see what happens with the rest of free agency. We don't have a lot of cap space left to work with. We didn't make cuts that I thought we were going to make, and we still might going forward. But we have made some really key moves for us, and I do think we have some draft capital to take some guys. It looks like we're probably going to be going with that edge rusher in the first round would be my guess, unless Rome Odunze happens to fall to us, which might happen. We'll see what happens. We've got a couple teams in Las Vegas and Minnesota that are looking to probably jump us and get into the market for a quarterback in the first round. Whether that's J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr., we'll see. But guys, that's all I got for you. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. And as always, rise up.